Conflict in the workplace is a natural, normal human event. You've got different people with different backgrounds, different experiences, different ideas, and as a result, you're probably going to have a difference of perspective, which can in fact create conflict. Sometimes the perception is that conflict is bad. However, conflict is also one of the reasons why we end up getting things done. Without that tension or that friction sometimes, it doesn't create that type of creativity or productivity that we need. However, how can we continue to manage through that conflict so that it doesn't inhibit the work, but rather keeps it going? Well, when we do end up reaching that impasse, one of the things that we can do in order to navigate through this conflict is the ability to take ownership, apologize, and make sure that we manage the relationship when we are trying to navigate conflict. So if you are in that situation where maybe you've got a little bit of conflict going on with somebody you work with, here are the 3 key components to delivering an effective apology. First, we want to be able to acknowledge. We want to acknowledge the situation and perhaps the way that we made other individuals feel. Second, apologize. We need to take ownership over our behavior and what we did in order to influence that confrontation. And then lastly, act. We need to commit to what it is that we're going to do differently in order to let the other individual know that we take this seriously and we will address it. So let's break down each one of these in a little bit more detail. First, acknowledge. When you acknowledge the conflict and the situation, what you're doing is acknowledging the way that you have made the other individual or people feel in a way that lets them understand this means something to you. Saying something like, I realize that I may have overstepped. I may have imposed on you. I understand that I caused you to feel a little anxious or perhaps a little frustrated in our meeting the other day. The acknowledgement piece here is that you are able to acknowledge and understand your contribution to the situation. Then we move into the apology. This is where we take ownership. This is where we say, I am sorry for what I did. I feel terrible for the fact that I raised my volume, I spoke over you, and I even cut you off. The apology piece is taking ownership over our actions. If we say, I apologize, or I'm sorry for making you feel a certain way, that's not taking ownership over our actions. What we are doing is stating the way that we made them feel. And then lastly, we want to be able to act, commit to action that will address this moving forward. And in doing so, we might say, I am going to do this differently next time. As a matter of fact, I promise I will make sure that I take a beat and I will think through my response before I end up sharing that, especially in those times where we do have a little bit of confrontation going on. So these 3 steps, taking a look at being able to really navigate that conflict by acknowledging our role, apologizing for what we did, and then promising, committing to acting differently moving forward, this can help us navigate through those relationships when unfortunately we realize that conflict is really starting to inhibit our ability to do the work. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time if we can help with conflict going on in your workplace. It is not uncommon. This might occur because of different people, different approaches, different styles. But we are always willing and ready to help on the people side of business.